It started in an orphanage of sorts. For me, it wasn't as rosy as hot chocolate foretold. There was no kiss, just iron bars. There were 10 of us at the beginning, mixed bag. A few Germans, a couple of Spaniards, a Welsh chap. Sometimes they'd make a heck of a racket. I remember one night this bitch called Delilah wouldn't shut up about the Women's Social and Political Union. All night it was suffragette this and burn your bras that. I remember by dawn I was literally fantasizing about her being hit by a horse. She got a comeuppance though. I called the warden on a particularly bad night, said I could smell her gum disease. I said she hadn't been orally aware and or plaque preventative. So they swooped in, pumped her full of decamethonium and shipped her off. It's not like the stories, is it? I'll bet Oliver Twist never had analgesic pumped into his gruel. Talking of which, Dylan, a couple of doors down from me, was tucking into a shepherd's pie one evening when, all of a sudden, he keeled over. Now, he woke up a couple of days later, heavily concussed, speaking French and minus a testicle. Bastards. God only knows what they did to him. He still gets called the Manchurian castrato by certain individuals, although I preferred his other nickname, Newter Gingrich, but that didn't sit too well with the majority of the other orphans who had chosen to vote Democrat. He got out a couple of months before me. Nice family took him in. Kid looked a bit of a pain though, mouth full of plums, probably got a pony and a Rupert Trust fund. Still, a home is a home, or so you would have thought. October 25th came, my parole, so to speak. The warden comes round and knocks on the cage. No, I don't know what to do. I'd heard stories from previous years, all sorts. I suppose really I was just hoping for a loving, caring foster guardian. Well, the gentleman walks in, and I don't like to judge on first appearances, but the first thought that came into my head was, Christ, is that Jeffrey Dahmer? My heart was racing. You've got to be kidding, I thought. I'm either going to end up in a cardboard box on the hard shoulder of the M55 minus another testicle, or cold, wet, hungry, dumped on a rail track waiting to flag down the crew to Wigan Northwestern Pendolino service. Harsh. But it's difficult to trust a man who tucks his jumper into his trousers. Nevertheless, he did get me out, and to be honest, it was rather pleasant, although the 1993 gunmetal grey Ford Orion parked in the car park did nothing to dissuade the homicidal, cannibalistic intuitions I was having about him. But still, even they passed as we sailed up the A1. Didn't say much at first, it was late. We listened to the World Service, some big programme on a bloke from Nigeria called Jonathan. People kept wishing him good luck. Must have been the heat or an infected water supply over there, I thought. Talking of which, silly names. I'd always assumed I would just be called Maxwell. I mean, that's what they called me at the orphanage, and all right, there were some bits of banter, mostly Nazi sex jokes and coffee-based innuendos, but nothing I couldn't handle. And then we get home, and the first thing that is uttered to me is, "Here's your new home, brave heart." Braveheart. Why'd you do this? It's really unfair. Do I look like a ginger-haired jock martyr with a staunch dislike for underpants? I said, I'm going to get the piss ripped out at me at the park if you call me that. After a brisk amble in the park, it's always nice to get home and relax to news night. However, this fantasy is rarely achieved. Brian, my guardian, likes to indulge in simpler viewing tastes like Babe, Pig in the City, and Free Willy 2. Please, give me something I can get my canines into. Watership Down, Attenborough, Mighty Joe Young. It doesn't even have to be animals either. Just because you're a minority doesn't mean you have to stick to what you know. Look at the French. They don't just sit around watching Bergerac and eating garlic. No, they like to read Poirot and put amphibians and baguettes too. And that's my point, really. Small-minded people. And I don't mean pinheads, that's too literal. I mean people who make judgments about who you are, say, by the colour of your skin, or where you live, or how well you can jump through a hoop. All I want is to be heard, and that shouldn't have to involve shouting freedom while someone pulls out your guts. But I suppose that's martyrdom, really. People will only listen when you're dead, and I don't really fancy being a suicide bomber at Crufts, but you get my point. And if there is just one thing you could remember, it would be that when you sit down, don't use my head as a leg rest for your manky, fungal-infested feet. And whatever you do, don't let your scratchy little children come into my abode and play with my tail. It's delicate and quite possibly worm-infested. Let's find equilibrium, a shared existence, one where I can go outside leash-free, one where I can sit with dignity at a dinner table and not under it. Because I have a dream. I have a dream that one day my little four-legged children will be able to live in a nation where the colour of their coat is not just used to market emulsion paint. I have a dream that one day little black and white paws will join together as brothers and sisters, but don't, for instance, let hand-holding turn to breeding and cross a golden retriever with a Shih Tzu. It just ends up as a shit retriever, and that doesn't help our cause for equality, it humours it. We have to rise up and fight for our rights. Listen to our brave brothers, Gromit, Scooby and Toto. Like our comrades before us, let us doggy paddle the wave of inequality. Free your muzzles, shake your lies, guard your bollocks. Try not to defecate on the pavement and let us be free. Who's with me? Hello? What? What do you mean you're just getting bark? Have you not got a translator? This is supposed to go out on Christmas Day, mate. It's right after the Queen.